Welcome back, guys. Let's dive right into this explainer and uncover the step-by-step foundation to growing massive, thick-walled bell peppers literally from day one. You know, bell peppers are absolutely incredible when you get them right, but they do require a very specific baseline. So today, we're taking all the guesswork out of the garden and turning the science of pepper growth into a real-deal masterclass.
Look, if you've ever been frustrated by pulling small, disappointing peppers off your plants, maybe they're papery, kind of thin, or just severely undersized, it's highly likely because you're missing a few crucial chronological steps that we are going to fix right now. Growing giant bell peppers isn't some great mystery. It's entirely about setting the correct foundation before the plant even hits the dirt.
So we're going to follow the exact journey of the pepper plant. We'll use this roadmap to take you from a tiny, stressed seedling to a massive harvest that will, for sure, make your neighbors jealous. We'll quickly cover seedling prep, the perfect planting depth, crucial soil amendments, a brilliant buried watering hack, the Epsom salt boost, and finally, spacing for maximum yield.
All right, let's kick things off with step 1, pre-planting seedling prep.
To prevent transplant shock from setting you back weeks, we start right here, way before your plant even touches the dirt. Now, I know it sounds like an old wives' tale, but adding sugar acts like a literal shot of espresso before the big game. You just drop 1 tablespoon of white sugar into a bucket of water and soak the root ball for 15 to 20 minutes. Since plants naturally make sugar through photosynthesis, this gives them an instant direct energy boost. You will literally see sad, droopy leaves perk up to look like a high-quality photo of a perfect seedling. And hey, while it's soaking, make sure to pinch off any yellowing, undamaged leaves. Dead foliage just drains energy, and you want all of this newly acquired energy directed straight into rapid root establishment.
Moving right along to step 2, the perfect planting depth.
Okay, getting your planting depth wrong is where a vast majority of gardens fail right out of the gate. You see, a lot of gardeners treat peppers exactly like tomatoes. You can bury tomatoes deep because they grow these adventitious roots all along their buried stems. But, and this is absolutely crucial, bell peppers do not develop these roots. So, burying them too deep is essentially an open invitation for stem rot and some severe fungal issues.
Instead, you want to dig your holes about 6 to 8 inches deep so that the very first set of true leaves sits just above the soil line. This buries a tiny bit of the lower stem for stability, but keeps you safely out of the danger zone for rot. Furthermore, you really must ensure the soil is level or gently mounded around the base. Never, ever create a bowl or depression around the stem where water can pool up. That pooling water, yeah, that's exactly what leads to a rotten, collapsed plant later in the season.
Okay, step 3, crucial soil amendments.
Before setting the plant in that perfectly dug hole, we actually need to add a foundational nutrient reserve. You'll want to mix about a tablespoon of either untreated wood ash or bone meal thoroughly into the native soil right at the bottom of the hole. Wood ash provides potassium for those thick walls and calcium to hit the ideal 6.0 to 6.8 pH sweet spot. Or, if you don't have ash, bone meal delivers a heavy dose of phosphorus to drive root development. Mix it in well, and then add a 1-inch layer of plain soil right on top. This creates a neat little barrier so the fragile roots don't burn from direct contact with the concentrated amendments, but they still have a rich reserve waiting for them as they grow.
And honestly, that wood ash is critical because it prevents blossom end rot. If you've never seen it, it's a dark, sunken area on the bottom of a growing pepper. It totally looks like a disease, right? But actually, it's just a calcium deficiency. Even if your soil has calcium, if the pH is off or your watering is inconsistent, the plant gets locked out and just can't absorb it. By putting wood ash at the base, you provide a direct, accessible calcium reserve to stop this heartbreaking, inedible dark spot before it even starts.
Which brings us to step 4, the buried watering hack. This is a real game changer.
So, overhead surface watering splashes bacteria, invites leaf spot, and leaves your plants with weak, shallow roots. Not good. Instead, grab an old black plastic nursery pot and drill 10 to 15 quarter-inch holes scattered all around it. When planting your pepper, dig a spot about 6 inches away from the root zone and bury this pot, leaving just the top rim exposed above the soil surface. Now, instead of watering the ground, you pour your water directly inside this buried pot. By sinking this drilled container next to the plant, you bypass the hardened soil surface entirely. The water just seeps out slowly, sending moisture straight down to encourage deep, drought-tolerant roots while completely eliminating the wet foliage that causes bacterial leaf spot.
So the crucial takeaway here is that this buried pot acts as an underground reservoir that totally takes the guesswork out of watering. As our source highlights, it's essentially a free drip irrigation system. And it's incredibly practical too. Just look down into the pot.
If it's dry, you water. If it's moist inside, well, you wait. It completely eliminates the dangerous cycle of overwatering and underwatering.
Moving on to step 5, the Epsom salt boost.
Once your robust, deeply rooted plants start pushing out flowers, it's time for a massive game changer. Dissolve exactly 1 tablespoon of Epsom salt into 1 gallon of water and apply it directly to the soil about every 2 to 3 weeks during the flowering and fruiting stage. Applying Epsom salt provides a huge hit of magnesium, which is the core driver for chlorophyll production. More chlorophyll means darker green leaves, higher energy output from the sun, and noticeably thicker-walled, heavier fruits. Watch your plants get so vibrant they almost look animated with life. It is a completely natural metabolic boost for literally pennies on the dollar.
And finally, step 6, spacing for maximum yield.
We really have to talk about the physical layout of your garden here, because crowding your plants to maximize space, that will actually ruin your harvest. 18 to 24. That right there is the golden measurement. You must leave a massive 18 to 24 inches of space between your plants in a single row, and 24 to 36 inches between the rows themselves. Why? Because peppers desperately need air circulation to fight off disease pressure. Furthermore, if they're cramped, they shade each other out. If the lower leaves don't get sunlight, they turn yellow and drop off, which drastically reduces the plant's capacity to feed those growing giant peppers.
When we pull all of this together, the logic is just undeniable. The 15-minute sugar water prep, the shallow 6 to 8 inch planting depth, creating that wood ash or bone meal base, utilizing the buried pot irrigation system, giving that Epsom salt magnesium boost, and sticking strictly to 18 to 24 inch spacing. When you combine all these chronological steps, you aren't relying on expensive fertilizers or harsh chemicals. You're just executing smart, foundational gardening that the plants will reward with massive, thick-walled vigor.
Now that you have the exact step-by-step blueprint for thick, sweet, giant bell peppers, it's time to look at your own garden setup. Are you going to keep treating your peppers like tomatoes, or are you ready to finally work with the actual science of the plant? The blueprint is right in front of you, so what is your biggest challenge when growing bell peppers going to be this season? It's time to get growing! Thanks for tuning into this explainer. I hope it completely transforms your harvest.